Hi guys, I hope everybody is doing good. It's been quite a while since sorry, that was totally my fault. It's been a while since I have done a video, and I've been pretty busy. I've been taking a lot of clients, and things have been really good. But I wanted to take a moment today because I think it's important to talk about the postpartum period. As you know, I'm not only a birth doula, but I am also a postpartum doula. I think there's some good things about having the continuity of care in birth all the way through postpartum, and that is something that I offer to my clients. So I just wanted to take a moment. I'm sorry for all the craziness that you hear. I have 3 kids and they're noisy. So they're with their dad out there. I think they're getting ready to go outside. So I just wanted to take about 5 minutes to talk about postpartum and a few key things that that I recommend that my clients do. So we really spend a lot of time planning for the birth, and it's important to plan for your birth. It's important to take time to think about all the different things and all the different paths a birth might follow. In the same way, it's just as important to have a postpartum plan. What does a postpartum plan look like? You're going to look at things like who is going to come visit you? When are they going to come visit you? What are you going to be doing in that time period? Are you going to be in bed resting? Are you going to be going to concerts? Are you going to be, what does that look like? What are you going to be doing? It's important to know what your body's going to be doing in that time of recovery. It's important to know, how long postpartum bleeding might last for, and what you should expect from your baby. So first and foremost, I always suggest have a postpartum plan. Know what is important to you in postpartum. Is it important to you to have visitors? Is it important to you not to have visitors? If you have visitors, are those visitors there to hold your baby, or are they there to help you? All of those things are things that you should think about before you have your baby and before you bring your baby home. So that is what a postpartum plan looks like. Things that I recommend putting in your postpartum plan. I already touched a little bit on them, but my recommendation is for the first 2 weeks, mama and her partner are the main people holding that baby. And I know that's really, really hard to explain to grandparents and excited aunts and uncles. And I know it's insulting to them sometimes. But if you explain to them physiologically, you need that time to bond with your baby. And you need that time to have your baby on you, skin to skin, to rest. Your first 2 weeks, especially postpartum, is a time where your milk production is established. It's the time where the bond, especially between the partner and the baby, is established. And those things are absolutely crucial. So if you kind of explain it to them like that, and then tell them, after 2 weeks or after a month, you can hold the baby, and it'll be, the baby's not going to go anywhere. It kind of eases it off a little bit. They understand that this is the time where you really need to make that connection. So that was my first and foremost. First 2 weeks, mom and partner be the ones to hold the baby. And if somebody else is coming to hold the baby, they are doing it so mom and partner can either get some sleep or take a shower or whatever. If people come by to see you, they need to be coming by to see you to help. Whether that means folding laundry, washing dishes, bringing food. People need to come see you in your postpartum period, not to oogle over the baby, of course. Everybody's going to oogle over the baby. But really, people need to be coming to see you to really be helpful, because otherwise there's really no point. And again, that can wait until the 2 week to 1 month period, after you've had time to rest and bond, establish breastfeeding relationship, all that kind of stuff. So if they don't think that they're going to be able to do that, my suggestion is, if they want to help, have them bring a meal and leave it on the doorstep and go home. All of that is protecting your space as a mom, which is really, really important in that postpartum time. For everybody, it's different, and for every baby, it's going to be different. And I know that's kind of hard, but for some people, it's a 2 week time. For some people, it's a month time. For some people, it's like a week. And a lot of moms, like after a certain amount of time, they start to feel kind of stir crazy, and they need somebody to come in and talk to them. You know, especially moms who like to be busy. Sorry, I just bumped that. But it's really important too that, like, emotionally all of that is important, but also physiologically, what is your body doing? Your body has had a baby and made a baby, created a baby over 40 weeks time. To give it at least a week. I'm working right now. Sorry. To give it at least a week to recover and rest is absolutely crucial. What does that look like? Recovery and rest, depending on the birth that you have, is going to be somewhat different. It's important to not just completely lay around all the time, although I think there's good in that. But it's also important to move a little bit, make a goal to maybe walk around the house a little bit, or walk up the street and walk back, little bit by bit. For moms who have had a cesarean, they tell you in the hospital that the more that you move, the quicker your recovery is. And they don't mean moving like hiking. They don't mean moving like anything strenuous. They mean take a simple walk. Don't simply be sitting. Balance it out. Like I said, go for a walk around the block and then come back and rest. The key here is that you want to have emotional, mental, and physical rest and connection with your baby. So the more that you focus on that, the easier your postpartum is going to end up being. Some of the other things that you would have in your postpartum plan, things just to think about. Where's your baby going to sleep? Is your baby going to be in the bassinet by you? Are you going to co-sleep? If you're going to co-sleep, what does that look like? Different things like, or is your baby going to sleep in its own room? That's another thing to kind of think about before you bring the baby home. Those are questions they're going to ask you in the hospital. Recently, I had a mama who was starting to think about the pacifier. That's something to research a little bit. In my opinion, there's not a right or wrong answer about whether a baby should have a pacifier, but I think everybody is unique and individual. I would say that before I had kids, I was like, my babies are not going to have a pacifier. But then my second baby had a pacifier till he was almost 3. So things change, and that's also something to keep in mind in your postpartum plan. Things will change, and that's okay. Every path is going to lead a different way. The point is thinking through these things before you bring your baby home. So you're not bringing your baby home and suddenly hit with all of these things and feeling overwhelmed. The point is to not get overwhelmed. That's why you're going to create a postpartum plan. I'm trying to think of other things to talk about with postpartum. Average women bleed for about 6 weeks. That's average, so it could be as little as a week. It could be 8 weeks. That's something everybody is different on, but average is about 8 weeks. So know to prepare for that. What are the supplies that you're going to need for that? What are you going to be comfortable? You can't use tampons, and you probably shouldn't be using a menstrual cup. Really, you don't want to insert anything into your body. Some of the things I recommend, having adult diapers, like depends. makes it so much more comfortable. I didn't do that with my first two babies, and then I took somebody's advice and used nothing but Depends for my daughter, and I slept better because I wasn't worried about bleeding all over my bed, and it was just more comfortable. Stephanie says, all the cloth. Yes. So if you're going to use cloth pads, knowing how many you might need, planning for that. And Stephanie said, we will cloth diaper anyway, so it just all goes in the wash, which is an awesome idea. Cloth pads are awesome and a really awesome choice, especially if you're doing cloth diapers, because then you just throw it all in the wash and you get it, like that's something that somebody can come visit you do. They can wash all of your diapers and all of your cloth pads. Hey, that sounds like a really good thing a good job for them to get to do. So planning ahead for that, knowing what you're going to need and how many you're going to need is really important, so that you're not in the moment and having to figure it out and feeling overwhelmed. I am trying to think through what else I wanted to talk about. The key to having a postpartum plan, like I said before, is just making sure that you have thought through all of these things before you come home, and that your partner is aware of these things before you bring your baby home, so that you're not overwhelmed. Having a baby can feel, especially a first baby, can feel really overwhelming to begin with. Like, you kind of feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. And if you're not prepared for the things that may or may not happen when you bring your baby home, it kind of makes it too much. I can think back to bringing my first baby home, and I didn't think about any of this, like, at all. And so not only was I adjusting to having a new baby, but I was also learning how to breastfeed, and the things that I needed to have for breastfeeding, like cloth nipple protectors so that I didn't leak all over, stuff like that. Like, I had no idea. I didn't research any of this beforehand. So my goal is, with my clients, let's think about these things, so that, going back to how I felt when I brought my son home, my first son, I was already overwhelmed. The weight of the world was on my shoulders. And I also had to think about all these things. And I felt overwhelmed. It was too much. I was exhausted and tired. And then I had to realize I'm going to be having postpartum bleeding for 8 weeks. And I didn't know that. Like, I was very uneducated. And my partner didn't know that. And so, like, if you can get a postpartum plan taken care of beforehand. The other wonderful thing that this does is, when you are writing a postpartum plan with your partner, it helps them to understand why you are putting down boundaries, why you are telling their mom or their dad that if they're going to visit, they're not going to hold the baby. It kind of takes care of those things that could create issues. So you're kind of preparing your partner, and partners really do need to know. I'm going to read what Stephanie says. Stephanie said, also having a plan for if things get overwhelming, like who to call and time for yourself, what you will do to nourish your heart and mind as well, since that will become last straw. Find your tribe and love them hard. Don't be afraid to ask for help or a break. Figure out schedule with partner, like when they will wake up with baby, or support from family and friends when they could come help. Yes, crucial. That is absolutely crucial. And that's something that your partner needs to know also. If you are having a hard day and they can't help you, who do they call? And who do they bring in to help you get through that? That is absolutely important. it's okay to have a hard time in postpartum, and it's okay to admit that. You do not have to be super mom. You are super mom for admitting that you're struggling. That is a strength. For admitting I need help, that is a strength. To say I would like a nap without my baby, that's important. That is an absolute necessity and strength. And those are all things to think about and plan for before you bring your baby home. So, Stephanie, thank you for reminding me of that, because that is so important. Your partner really does need to know who to call when they can't fix it. Whether that be your doula, your midwife, your best friend, your mom. There are going to be times when they just can't help. And in helping to help you, it might mean making that phone call. So I think I'm going to end with that, because that's a really awesome note to end on. So thank you guys for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful Monday, and love and light. Take care.